What is up, my nakamas? Today we are gonna be talking about fairy tale. And at first we were gonna do a why is fairy tale bad, but hear me out.
Hmm.
I had a change of heart.
Oh,
Something about watching all these recaps, something about watching those like really hard hitting moments brought me back into my nostalgia ways. And I was like, maybe I was wrong. Maybe I should not have listened to all those other like YouTubers who were shitting on it. Maybe they just didn't understand and they were just Naruto fans or something.
this damn Naruto fans.
I know. So, like, for those who don't know about Fairy Tale is one of the shows that started back in the early 2000s. Pretty much, it's like I guess the best way of describing it, it was the red-headed stepchild of the golden age of anime when we
Yeah.
had the big five, pretty much. And I feel like there's an argument for like why a lot of people like Fairy Tale, which is pretty much nostalgia. And I'm like, all right, fine. Like I will admit it's nostalgia, a lot of it. But like it's also nostalgia for me to say that about Naruto, to say that about Bleach, to say that about like early One Piece. So that and or even Dragon Ball Z. And I'm like, all right, nostalgia can't exactly be the only argument as to why Fairy Tale was just as good as it was back then, at least in my opinion. Because
Hmm.
I remember like watching it when I was like when it first was coming out, and I was like, oh, what a creative, interesting world that we have here. This is like one of the few times we saw magic played out in this way, in this like world building of itself. Because like the other shows were not like magic related, you know what I mean? So this is like an actual magic like system and people and stuff like that. And the whole point of Fairy Tale is that Fairy Tale is a guild. I loved guilds back then. I was a Ragnarok player. I was a fucking Maple Story player. So the idea of guilds loved it. My nakamas. All right. And
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
I just like liked it. And then I think the biggest thing about why Fairy Tale like stood out so much for me back in the day was the whole point of the guild itself is like they're just a guild of misfits that became a family. And I was like, being my young, naive teenager self, and I was just trying to find my way in life, trying to find like, where I fit in and stuff. And then you have fairy tale. It's like fairy tale is the whole point of this. Like to not be perfect, but to be yourself kind of thing.
Yeah, you could still find a place to belong.
Exactly. Like no one's like the whole point is that no one's there to judge you for like whatever you do. They're so the whole point is that they're so accepting of it.
It's
And
ironic because the anime fans are the opposite. They will very much
I
judge you if you like fairy tale.
I know I felt like I do have to say there are certain things about fairy tales that I nitpick and didn't like, but like looking back on it, like there were like plenty of things that I liked about it. I just felt like I was looking at the bad things in a bigger scope when in reality it had all these good things that I was just ignoring because I was following the camp that fairy tale was trash or whatever. But let's be real now, fairy tale is not trash. I literally have a freaking drawing from
Oh,
the mangaka when he came to New York City Comic Con, and I lucked out in a draw to meet him, and he drew me in Arizona. He was such a nice person to do that for me, and it's like, how can I say that it's not good? It is good. I love the characters in there.
yeah. Well, that was a hell of an intro. Very much like an introductory paragraph of like, in this essay, I will prove that Fairy Tale is a good show. And honestly, like, I agree. And I'm kind of a good person to have on this discussion too, because I don't have that nostalgia. I watched it when I was in my 20s, you
Oh
know,
my gosh.
which was like 30 years ago now.
Gosh.
Yeah, and same thing with the other shows you mentioned, like Naruto and One Piece. Like I started those very late in the game, so I don't have those nostalgia goggles. So, but
Yeah.
even so, like the baby like themes of like friendship and everything in Fairy Tale, they hit very hard. You know, it was like nice to feel that way, especially whenever you're feeling like you might not have that place of belonging. Like seeing that happen in anime to characters that you relate to is like, it's a really good feeling. And
Yeah.
honestly, going through like, I watched the openings to all the arcs right before this, and there's a lot of plot arcs that also really carry their weight. Like especially early on, the plots like were really good.
No, and I agree. Like, I feel like, okay, so I already made my document as to how I'm gonna go through explaining why fairy tale is just like misunderstood. The first thing was that there was a good amount of foreshadowing that was done. And I
Yes.
feel like I didn't notice that until like looking back on it, and then like also kind of digging a little bit to see what other foreshadowing there was that I might have missed. But there was a good amount of foreshadowing that was happening.
Oh,
Like,
I mean, even like with the high level wizards like Loxus and Mystigan, like they were planting those seeds early for the shit that was gonna happen
yeah,
with them.
exactly. So that's why I'm like, people did not like the people just completely like ignore or like just not understand that there was like he was planting seeds before we even knew he was planting seeds kind
Didn't
of
even know
thing.
there was a garden yet.
Yeah, there was like a moment where Natsu, one of the main characters, mentioned how he thought like the demons look really cool. And if you did not know, he's actually a demon.
I actually didn't know that. So
Spoiler.
for reference, I made it to the Grand Magic Games, and then like I guess life got in the way, and I stopped watching. So I don't know anything past that arc.
Okay, I'll try
But no,
to
no, feel free to spoil. It's been like 20 years since the show came out.
okay. And then there was like a whole other thing where like there was like this whole mystery about like where did the dragons go, right?
Mm.
And yo, these dragons were actually in them this entire time. And then there was like
They
a good
foreshadow.
hint.
I have an example. I don't know if you were gonna say it, but I have a perfect example of that coming into play early on in the arc where Loxus tries to take over Fairy Tale. Is that what you're gonna
Yeah.
say?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they create a barrier where it's like an age barrier so that the guild leader can't help. And there's like they cap it at like 90 or something, or like some old ass age, and Natsu gets trapped in it as well, and he's like, what the fuck, I'm like 17, this is so it's
Yeah.
like, you know, I wonder what's going on there.
Exactly. So Natsu and Gajo both got trapped and they both did not
Hmm.
understand why. So that was like, and if we think about it, dragons themselves are actually like 400 years old. That was like, something that like was completely like, I don't know, did people not notice that? And then there was another time where like there was a fortune teller that told Gray that he was gonna have trouble with women and water. And then who does
Yep,
he
he
end up
did say
with? Juvia.
Juvia,
Um,
OG simp.
I know. And then so there was another one where there was so in the very very beginning there's a lot of mention of Zeref who is like the dark mage and everything like that.
Yeah.
And how everyone thought he was like a legend that needs to get resurrected and stuff like that. But yo, lo and behold, guess where the fuck he was? He was just fucking chilling on Tenro Island this entire time, so that's why they couldn't resurrect him at all.
Yeah, that was crazy. He's just like, oh hey, what's up, bro? He's just like,
I
what?
know. And then Mystigun's identity that he was actually like an alternate world version of Jalal. And
I have conflicted feelings about that one.
really,
I like that he's Jalal, but I don't. I realize I really don't like the alternate universe thing.
but
If
it kind of, but then the point of the alternate universe thing was to explain where the cats are coming from.
Yeah, I feel like it was just too early in the series to kind of introduce that because we barely knew the current world we were in, and then they
Mm,
introduced a new one.
I see.
That kind of took it a little bit away from me, but
Mm.
I mean, I still love Mystigan, and like the overall story of that was fine.
It wasn't particularly my favorite arc either, but then it's the fact that it does just do like the explaining as to like where Happy and Charlie comes from and like
Lasana as
why.
well, where she went.
Yeah, like it was like a kind of an explanation to things, you know what I mean? I think so foreshadowing was like a big thing, right? And they set it up early. Like it wasn't not something that was set up like, hey, let me put this in at the beginning of the arc and then it's gonna show up later in the arc. Nah, it was like early setup kind of thing. Another thing is that like sacrifices are needed to be made in order to achieve a win sometimes. And I say sometimes because it's not all the time. Because it is still a shonen and we still do the power of friendship bullshit. But there were like a couple of times that I thought the sacrifices like held such big value into their win that I was like, damn, this is not just all about like nakama friendship power kind of shit, spirit
Yeah.
bomb. It's literally like you have to make a sacrifice if you want something to happen, which
Hmm.
is honestly like something that I feel like is a good talk to have because you have like I think like Dragon Ball, you keep having Goku dying and then coming back to life, and then like
Oh, rest in peace, Akira Toriyama.
I know, but in Fairy Tale, there was like I think one of my personal thought was like the hardest hitting one when Aquarius told Lucy to break her key
Ooh, good one.
to summon the Celestial King to save her friends. I thought that one was like probably the hardest hitting one in my opinion because it was like you saw the bond Lucy and Aquarius always had, and it's always been such a
That was like her
like
OG.
yeah, it's her first key, and it was like you saw how Aquarius treated her. It was always like not the best, always criticizing her and stuff like that. It felt like a big sister to a little sister kind of thing, right? And
Hmm.
then the fact that like Aquarius was saying like it has to be a golden key, which is one of the zodiac keys, and it can only work if the key holder and the sign themselves have like a very deep bond. And it's like I feel like everyone always thought like Aquarius just did not care about Lucy, right? But she does care because and it showed when she actually did break it and then summoned the Celestial King
Yeah.
that it like actually worked.
Final Fantasy X did that first, by the way. But yeah, there was also like very early on in the arc with Gray's teacher where you saw
Yeah.
she sacrificed herself in order to like contain this monster and like, save Gray and Leon, the other student of his or hers rather.
Yeah, exactly. Like the idea of like making sacrifices for like the greater good of things, right?
Hmm.
It's never about like being selfish about yourself at that point. I think there was another one. So there's later on like there's these other guilds that show up, and I think you do see them in the Magic games or even before the Magic games. But there's a girl named Shelly, and she
Mm.
is technically a wind god slayer. Another explanation to like their power system is like you have your first origin, which is your base power, and then your second origin is like the hidden power that you get, right? But then there's something called a third origin where it's like you're pretty much maxing out your power, but then you come at the risk of losing your power. And that's what she ended up doing, which is opening up her third origin in order to defeat this one chick who was like able to control time. So she lost her power at the end
Wow,
of it all.
shit got crazy.
No, it does get crazy. And then Marikov, the grandpa, the guild leader, there's in Fairy Tale, the actual guild, they have certain moves that are like known to be only given to like people in the guild. So one of them is called Fairy Law. And Fairy Law pretty much eliminates everyone who you see as an enemy.
That's crazy.
And Marakov, the Makarov, I don't know. You know I can't say names.
I know. Okay, well, either way, Makarov, Marikov,
Um, he
Grandpa.
actually did it, and he sacrificed himself to do it
Oh, god
because
damn.
everything comes at a price when it comes to like things like that, right? So I think like it does show that sacrifices are always needed to be made. It's never like something that you can just overcome and overpower. It's like there has to be choices.
Yeah, for like grandiose things to happen, you have to make equally large sacrifices, I suppose.
Yeah, so that's like one theme that I appreciated from it. Another one is something that I didn't realize until like me being older looking back on it is that I do appreciate the more complexity in the relationship between certain characters. Everyone knows about Jaw and Erisa's like very turmoil relationship and past. It's
Mm-hmm.
not like it's I can't say it's all like Jalal's fault because he did get taken over by a dark entity. But like, it's the fact that they chose to like, after all these years, like Erza decides to still forgive him and try to patch up what was a very toxic relationship and stuff like that.
Yeah, and he puts in the effort too, like after he's defeated in like his tower arc, like he kind of
Yeah,
like does go on a very long redemption arc that lasts years. You know, even tries to redeem other people like the Erasion Seis Guild and stuff.
exactly. But I think like the relationship between Erza and Jal is like, it's like almost like a Romeo Juliet situation where they like know they care a lot for each other, but they know they can't exactly be with each other because of his past
That
kind of
is
thing.
not how Romeo and Juliet went.
Fine, I know.
I
You
know
know what?
what you're
I know
trying to
it's
say,
fine.
but that's the opposite of what they did.
Okay, you know what was pretty much like almost like Romeo and Juliet?
What?
Mavis and Zara. So
Okay.
Mavis is the first guild, the very first guild leader of
Right.
Fairy Tail, and then Zara, like we mentioned before, is the Dark Mage. And I guess like I saw them as more like star-crossed lover kind of situation. It's because like she is on the side of what is deemed to be good, and he is on the side of what's deemed to be bad. But they understand each other because they both end up having the curse of contradiction. So the
Which
curse of contradiction pretty much is anything and everything that you hold dear. It's like the harder you try to hold on to it, the more likely it's gonna contradict and you're gonna kill it.
that's fucked up.
So that's what happened for Zeref, right? So that's why like he pretty much wanted to revive his little brother, but because he tried to like, go against the nature of everything, he pretty much got cursed. And that's why like when he tries to like care for something, it's gonna end up dying.
Hmm.
It's like that kind of thing. That's why like when you meet him, you see him as being very aloof and things like that, but there's a reason for that, and he's lived for like so many years to pretty much like become this way. But for them, Mavis and Zara, they understood each other in a sense. Like she saw the better in him and he saw the potential in her, but they can't be with each other. It's like, they both hold this whole contradiction, curse of contradiction. So it's like, but I mean, for those who did not watch Zero, Fairy Tail Zero, pretty much what ends up happening is that Mavis and Zeref like come to an understanding that like they can technically just be enough for each other. But when they kiss, what ends up happening was that Zeref's like curse overpowered her curse and he ended up killing her.
Oh,
Yeah. That's what I mean. Like relationship is a little more complex, right? Like
a little bit.
yeah, like, because in the end of the day, it's not like she didn't care about him, but like she didn't also want to kill him. But then it's like the same way for like him as well, you know? It was just, it's a very sad love story kind of thing.
Yeah, tragic, tragic love.
Romeo and Juliet.
Hmm. Don't date women who have the law of contradiction on them. It's gonna end up bad.
Shut up. And or like, there was another one which is there was a guild named Sabretooth, the new guild that eventually comes around like the Magic tournament arc area, and like there was this one chick named Minerva in there, and she was like a fucking total bitch, like her dad, all because her dad was a shitty dad. So then she did not know how to like properly, I guess, be herself is a better way of saying it. Because like all he kept telling her was like, you can't be my daughter if you're like weak and stuff like that. So all she ever knew was like to fight and fight and fight. And I thought they were bringing such an interesting like hateful character. Don't get me wrong, I hated her, but like her backstory to it was just kind of like, oh, you see why she's like the way she is. It's
Hmm.
like she has no ambition or anything but to just get stronger. And that was only because she wants the respect of her dad, is really what it is.
Honestly, that's a relatable backstory too. All these
I know,
relatable characters.
I know. And then you have Juvia and Gray who like,
Hmm.
they had like a very weird relationship and stuff like that. I guess, I mean, you can say that she pretty much simped him so hard that he caved in or something, but like, I think like she did care, very, very much care, and then he also very much cared about her eventually, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Well, she
there
also
was,
like gave him space. She simped from a respectable distance as well, because she knew
yeah,
like he was not like ready for that yet.
yeah, and I think like what was very sweet was like, so in one of the later battles, there was like this one person who has this magic that is like pretty much, I can't remember what the details of the magic, but pretty much what happens is that they both are like stuck because they both got trapped into this magic, and the only way to like escape it was for one of them to kill the other one. So they had to like fight each other. But what they end up doing was they ended up both stabbing themselves because
Okay.
they could not fathom like obviously hurting the other person. And it was like, this is your ride or die relationship, you know what I mean? They are like legit a ride or die, and I'm like, damn, it's like you go from a girl who simps on a guy and now you're like killing yourself for them.
Dreams come true.
I guess not the idea, but the thought of it was very sweet because they rather hurt themselves than to hurt the other person. What is a relationship with another person if it's not to like think about them over yourself, you know?
Yeah, like it's important to note too that the start of kind of like Juvia's crush on Gray was because they were initially in enemy guilds fighting each other,
Yep.
and he was like one of the first people to show her like real like kindness and consideration. And then
Yeah,
that ended up recruiting her to Fairy Tale and essentially changed her life. So
exactly.
like she had very good reason to simp. And Gray's like, yeah, she's pretty cool too.
Yeah. I think there was like a lot more. I think the other one I want to touch upon is like how Loxus has like daddy issues and stuff like that because his dad is a freaking psychopath.
Yep.
Or like there's this one character named August that's like in the much later.
Yeah, I don't know him.
And he's actually Zeref's and Mavis's son,
Oh
apparently.
my god. How did the curse of contradiction not contradict
I
that?
see, this is what I mean when I'm like, there are certain things I don't understand how like it worked, but like this is what happened. So he was always with Zeref, right? All he ever wanted was the attention from like his parents. And
Hmm.
it's like it was really sad to think about it and to like see it. There are kids out there in the world that don't have the attention from their parents, and they like go through such extreme lengths to like get it sometimes. And this is like one of those examples where August like does go to extreme lengths just so he can get some kind of attention from his parents.
Is August a child?
No, he in the show he's actually an old man.
Okay, so he
Yeah,
grows old even though his parents don't?
yeah,
Oh, that's like many levels of complexity.
yeah. I know. I think another one that I thought was good was Scotcho and Lily's relationship. He was kind of a bully because he was in the previous in a different guild that was trying to like pick a fight with Fairy Tail. But even though he was a bully, she still ended up forgiving him. And then their relationship does kind of develop, and then he does eventually tell her she gave him a different purpose other than fighting because that's all he ever knew what to do. And I was like, so cute. So it's like, there's like plenty of like interesting relationships to kind of like get behind for. And like I feel like a lot of these relationships are just like different types of complex relationship that you can have in real life pretty much. Like I won't say
Well,
exactly like it.
yeah, metaphorically.
Yeah, metaphorically, not exactly like it. But like I was like, all right, I understand it a little better now that I'm like mature and been through a couple of relationships myself. I get it. I see it. I see
Hmm.
why. And then so aside even from a relationship, there's like the whole sad backstory tropes that happen.
Oh yeah, everyone has a sad
Everyone,
backstory.
I know everyone has a sad backstory. Gray lost his family and then eventually loses Yule because
Lost second
she
family.
yeah. And then Lucy lost her mom at a young age, and her father was just absent all the time. So she just was always looking for a real family.
Yeah.
Elfman thought that he killed his little sister when he
Hmm.
couldn't probably do the beast takeover. And then that made him feel like he was man enough. So that's why he always preaches about being a man. You have Loki, who was previously in an abusive relationship with his past master, but he blames himself for her death.
Hmm.
Erza was literally a child slave and only escaped because and like her only like not her only friend, but like the one friend that she like looked up to, which is Shaw, literally threatened her not to come back.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
then later on you find out you meet her mom, and her own birth mom abandoned her because she could not serve as a vessel for her.
Wait, what did you say that again?
So Erza's birth mom abandoned her because she could not serve as a vessel for the mom.
Oh god, that's like Greek tragedy levels of like Greek god bullshittery.
Yeah. So this happens later
Fucked up.
too.
Jeez.
I know. And then Loxus, who's like that was evil and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Wendy, who was like lost and alone, and then her fucking guild was imaginary.
That's crazy. That's crazy that like she was able to get over that at all.
Well, because she found Fairy Tale.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like without fairy tale, she'd be fucked. Like
I know. It was so like, damn, bro.
whole life is a lie, but a benevolent lie.
I know. And then you have Mr. Gunn, who is like a prince in the other world, and all he wants to do is like save his world from being too reliant on magic. Carla, who is like the little cat who is pretty much being tormented because she has clairvoyance. She pretty much saw the doom of what would happen and stuff like that, but she did not know like what to make of it because that was like she was pretty much ingrained into it when she was first born.
Mm-hmm.
And then Hana, who like lost her mom, and her dad was Gildar, who just kept leaving on missions and not knowing that that's her daughter. And then she became an alcoholic. And then there was Michelle, who was like in a filler arc, but she was pretty much Lucy's doll that her mom gave her, that her Lucy's mom gave to Lucy. And then she felt abandoned, so that's why she got resurrected as a person, because all she wanted was to be with Lucy again. And then you have Mavis, who, tragic of all tragic, lost her entire village, made a make-believe friend with her like illusion magic that she didn't even realize that was happening, ended up getting the curse of contradiction on her because she used that incomplete magic. And then that led her to killing Makarov's mom simply by just touching her. So sad. Like all these like characters just have really sad backstories. But like even like the enemies have sad
Yeah, no,
backstories.
everyone's fucked. But you know what helps them?
What?
Power friendship.
I hate you. I thought you were gonna try to plug in some kind of advertisement or something like that.
NordVPN. Their internet is safe. No, but I mean that's literally kind of the theme here is that, you know, all these like kind of broken people can fix each other.
I think that's what I appreciate a lot is that nobody's perfect and nobody's whole. Everyone's kind of broken in their own little way. But they found people to help not fix them but help like fit into like their broken pieces
Yeah,
kind
it
of
completes
thing.
them.
Yeah, and that's why I really like that because I'm like I don't feel like any of the other shows did that.
No, yeah, I have like a huge bone to pick with anyone who hates like the friendship aspect of fairy tale because like what are you? Like are you jealous? Are you like have no friends? Are you like the smartest guy in the room? What's going on?
Because we really want to talk about power of friendship. Spirit Bomb.
Spirit Bomb is
Spirit Bomb.
its power of the entire planet.
What else we have? Naruto and Sasuke's bromance that goes on for an entire
They're not even
freak.
friends, yo. I hate that. They're not even. Sasuke does not like Naruto at all.
And then
They
who
hung
else?
out like once.
Okay, and then Bleach is just like the guy is just golden to begin with. He was like the chosen one to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even say like friendship is like the power system in this. It's just like something that drives them and motivates them.
Yeah, and I feel like if you're in real life, if you like don't feel this way for your friends, it's like
Get new friends, bro.
either get new friends or get a therapist. Cause what the fuck?
Get both.
Or get both. But like yeah, like I feel like okay, yeah, I used to think it was really cheesy about the whole friendship thing. Now that I'm looking back and I'm like, yo, that's literally what I would do for my friend. Like if I see my friend in danger or like in need, this is what I'm gonna be doing. Like this isn't like some made up shit. This is like legit something I would do, right? I can't be like Ichigo and just become a soul reaper, you know? I
Ichigo
can't.
did it for his friends too, though. Chad and the boys, you know? Like, he did it for his
Yeah.
family.
No. I know that, but what I'm trying to say is like, yeah, Ichigo did it for his friends, but Ichigo did it by himself because he was he's legit the chosen one.
Yeah.
None of these characters here are like chosen one. You know what I mean? They all have their own powers, but they're not chosen. Oh, I didn't even mention it, but I thought like the other thing that was so interesting is like people might be wondering why is it always like Lucy and Natsu and stuff like that. Like if you watch it all the way to the very end, pretty much Lucy is the one writing the story, and she's pretty much the one narrating the story.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you. I was curious as to what your opinion of who the main character of Fairy Tail is.
I think the main character is Natsu, but Lucy's the one telling the story.
I I disagree. I think it's Lucy.
Why?
Because it's her perspective. She's like all the events essentially revolve around her, at least for most of the early part of the story.
Okay, but then like the main story arc is legit about Natsu. Like I feel like it's always a toss and turn between Natsu and Lucy, but I do think Natsu is the main character in her story.
Okay.
It's her story, but it's Natsu being the main.
I see.
It's such an interesting show. Like you have like everyone's sad stories and stuff like that, and then you have like really interesting like designs in their characters, you know? Like I know there was like an argument about like how Gildar and Shanks look the same and stuff.
He's
But
buff Shanks.
okay, but hear me out. I remember when I was reading the manga, because I think at some point I just started reading manga instead of watching it. I was reading the manga and I was like really confused as to who this character was, and then I realized it was Gildar. So that means in the anime they changed the way he looks.
Oh, I see.
And he ends up looking more like Shanks.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that does happen, like especially like since you don't really know the hair color unless the author says so.
So in the manga he's actually blonde.
Oh, there you go. They like very different than Shanks.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's like people make this argument and I'm like, that was not the intent though. Like it just so happened the anime made him that way. And I think the other really good thing about the character design was Erza. Her like design and armor is so good. I love all her armor designs. So freaking good. I know there's like a lot of similarities to his previous work, which is Wave Master. So like,
well, that's what he does. Cause like in his most current work, Eden Zero, he has similar designs as well.
yeah, which is kind of like it's honestly, if this is the guy's like signature like design, like how can you fault him for it? Really? Like at first, I used to be like, I remember back then I was like, oh, Eden Zero looks like the exact same character. It's nothing nothing different. But like thinking about it, I'm like, this is his style. Like you can't fault him for making it his style.
Yeah, it's almost like seeing like actors perform different roles, because you have like characters who look like Lucy, characters who look like Natsu, and Happy's literally in like the Eden Zero thing as well.
Yeah, I know. So that's why I'm just kind of like, it's whatever. Like people who argue about it should just like take a try at making a whole different
I
character
couldn't make
design.
one character design.
Oh, like that's what I'm saying. It's just like this is what he likes. This is what he's good at.
Yeah, and like also the other characters too. Like everyone in the guild is distinct, but yet like not overstated. Some of the designs are more simple, but like when I see a picture of the Fairy Tail Guild, I can pick out every single person.
Yeah, exactly. Like he gives everyone their own look, pretty much.
Yeah.
Which is really hard if you think about it.
It's crazy. Like most anime can't do it.
Yeah. So character design, I think Erza really stands out a lot for me for character design with all her different armors and everything like that.
Oh, for sure.
World building, I thought was like okay.
That's probably the area where I feel like it's the weakest.
Yeah, it wasn't particularly like strong, but like I do still appreciate that he tried in a sense.
Yeah, he created like some sense of world, like with the guild system and everything. Like you kind of understand like some of the organization of like the magic organizations at least.
Yeah.
It's more so just like the world around it that you're not so sure about.
Yeah, the world building was okay, but there at least there was world building. You know what
Yeah,
I
it
mean?
was there. It was like enough for most arcs.
Yeah, I think the other theme, like we mentioned before, is the power of friendship. But, but I think there was a different way I was looking at this whole like power of friendship thing.
Okay.
So there were many times that they had to say goodbye to somebody, and I thought like each time they did it in their own way, I was like always touched by it. I think
Yeah.
one of the first instances was when Erza had to say goodbye to her friends from the tower,
Yeah.
and then she chose to bring out her very specific armor. It's called a farewell fairy tale armor. You know, even though she just got to see these people that she hadn't seen in so long, she still treated them like as if they were her guild mates and gave them like a proper goodbye because they
Yeah.
chose to do their own thing instead of coming with her. So that was like one of the first instances. The other instance that happened, which was Luxus's goodbye, after he tried to take over the guild and he realized that, and he tried to enact the fairy law, but it didn't work because he never saw any of them as an enemy. Even though he was exiled, they still very much acknowledged him. So
Yeah.
he left pretty much around the time of that festival parade, and it like cuts to a flashback of when he was with him and the guild master, and they were like saying like, oh, how would I know like you're watching me or see me? And then that's when they made that hand signal, and
Yeah.
and then they did it for his goodbye, and I was like, ugh. Even though you were like a dickhead before, like it was not like meant in a bad, like, you didn't come from a bad place, and they recognized it and they understood it.
Yeah, I mean, Laxus is like character progression I relate to kind of the most, which I guess says something about me. But seeing like him kind of be misguided and then like trying to do something he thinks will actually end up being better for everybody, failing, and then having to kind of rediscover himself really hit hard. He's my second favorite character behind Urza.
He's a very good character. I do agree too. Like he has a tragic backstory, but the tragic backstory doesn't define him kind of thing. And he is the type that like always tries to make his own way.
Yeah.
Even though he's very much for fairy tale, he always tries to find his own way. The third one that I was like, really, this was something, was actually Miss the Gun, or Idealos Jalal's goodbye, because he is the rightful prince of that kingdom, and they realized that if they were to still make out this empire as a bad thing to the people, then it's gonna fall apart. So they ended up choosing to play the bad guy, pretending like they were the evil ones stealing all the magic. And then they pretty much fight it out. But like during this fight, Natsu pretty much recites the guild rules as part of the farewell ceremony, and I was like, damn. Like listening to it, I was just like, ugh. Because it was like he's been there all this time, and he was always like helping them in the shadows.
Yeah.
And then now they have to let him go, and they do let him go because they know this is for like the greater good of things,
Yeah,
right?
he needs to do it.
Yes. So there's 3 rules to when you leave fairy tale. 1, you must never reveal sensitive information about fairy tale to others as long as you live. 2, you must never use formal contacts met through your being in the guild for personal gain. And then 3, though our paths may have diverged, you must continue to live out your life with all your might. You must never consider your own life to be something insignificant, and you must never forget about your friends as far as long as you live. That last one, I was like freaking bawling, because it was like, this is how you know that this isn't just a guild, like any guild. This is like how you know this is like friendship to its finest, like friendship to the point that it's family. If Fast and Furious want to talk about family, they should just make it into like fairy tale into Fast and
You
Furious.
have no idea how much I was holding back just saying family. But like that's kind of like what the top level like friendship in your life should be like,
Yeah, it should be effortless, but it should also be like this, where you're okay with separating and then eventually hoping that you guys meet down the line. But if you don't, it's
Yeah,
okay.
don't forget them, bro.
Yeah, like, and I feel like that's how you know that this friendship is very valuable. If you guys can let each other go, but like still know like always have each other back. You
Yeah.
know, that was like, I think when I was watching this when I was younger, I like hit so hard because I was like literally at that, I feel like at that point in time, I was literally trying to find like friends just like that,
Mm.
like friends that literally was like fairy tale. And I think that's why fairy tale just means so much to me when I was younger, because it was embodying something I was looking for.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting teary just talking about it, like thinking about the friends I do have like that, and it's just
I
like that. It's
know,
important, you know? They're
I
important to
know,
me. They're right here. The
I know they're not
Nakamas.
much. But like that's why I was like, how can anyone hate fairy tale for like really emphasizing how important friendship is? Not like some like
Yeah, it's not
shit that you
surface level.
know and not. That's why I was like, how can anyone hate it? Like I don't understand.
They don't get it. Maybe they'll get it at some point.
Maybe. Who
They,
knows? Okay, so I just feel about like why I so much enjoy fairy tale for what it was. And
mhm.
now I have notes about things that were just convenient or just odd slash annoying to me
Yeah, it's not
when I
perfect.
watched it.
It's not a perfect show. It hits harder sometimes than anything I've ever seen, but definitely has flaws.
Yeah, because I literally that was literally the line, and then all my bullet points
Yeah, it's like,
about
all right,
that.
here we go, time to cook it.
So useless filler arcs.
Oh, the filler. I hated the filler arcs.
Yeah.
I didn't know back then when I first started watching it to skip filler arcs, and they took a piece of my soul every time.
I know I hate filler arcs, and I also very much hated fairy tale filler arcs. Like
Yeah,
fairy tale filler arcs were just trash in my opinion.
they were trash, but they were like harmful trash. Like I remember like actually like getting upset because like the characters would do like shit I wouldn't want them to do, or they'd get put in situations I didn't like,
Yeah,
and then to what ends? Nothing. You just forget
I know.
about it.
Ugh, I know. That's why I was like, I hated the filler arcs.
Yeah, skip filler.
The fact that there's a tree that is linked to Fairy Tale's power, but Mavis is like technically their unlimited source of magic and was under the guild the entire time. That did not make sense to me.
Uh, I'd have to think about it a little more. Yeah, because the whole thing is magic being like kind of like a resource is like not something I've really tried to wrap my head around.
Right.
But gosh, yeah.
But,
Well, did
but it
they
was just
know she was there?
only the guild masters know.
Oh, so Makarov
But
was
no,
just
the guild,
being.
she's in the basement of the guild though. But then for some reason, when the tree was falling, apparently their magic was like getting messed up too. And I'm like, how does this make
Maybe it's like
sense when?
Wi-Fi. She's too far away.
Oh my gosh.
All right, what's the
So
next point?
why did Agnologia, the dragon thingy, attack? And then it chose to be a 7-year skip, not a 1-year skip, not a 2-year skip, a 7-year skip. Why 7 years? I don't understand why 7 years.
It could be a thing where, because there was like a sort of interesting dichotomy with the characters that stayed behind and were still in Fairy Tale versus the characters that were on Tenro Island, because they were older, they had 7 years more experience at that point.
Why 7 years though? Like why not 3 or 5?
I feel like
Less?
7 years is just like a long enough time that shit would change dramatically, you know? Like,
Maybe.
if that's what the author wanted, I'm not entirely sure.
I mean, maybe.
Did it seem like the longer time skip mattered in the grand scheme of things, or not really?
Oh, it
Oh,
didn't feel like it did.
okay.
That's why I was like, you might as well just have made it 10. Why 7?
Yeah, okay, then at that point, like, yeah, I don't know.
There's this character named Kagura and then Erza, and apparently Kagura is the sister of Simon, and she hates
Oh,
Jalal. And I'm like, but then like somehow she got saved by Erza when she was younger, and I'm just like, feels very convenient plotting at this point in time.
yeah, it's like a, oh, I was also there moment. Just like, bitch, you weren't in the scene. What the fuck?
Yeah, like it was just like very convenient plotting of like putting this character in there and then giving her all that stuff. But yeah. And then there was like an introduction to the Eclipse Gate while at the Magic tournament arc. And I just felt like there was just too many things happening for my child brain to comprehend because there was like two plots happening at the same time, and it's not like an A plot and a B plot. They were both like kind of A plots kind of thing.
Yeah,
And then
I think that's kind of where I started falling off as well, because like the Grand Magic Games was so long too. I was getting fatigued.
but Erza did have her bad bitch moment where she took on the entire tower of monsters by herself.
I did watch that before I fell off. That was, gotta stick around for Urza.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was like a moment where she was like, you can pick as many monsters as you want, but like the point of the game is like to beat more than anyone else. And she's like, there was like an upper limit of 100, like that's all the monsters have. And she was like, all right, Urza, you go first. And she was like, I'll take 100, and then just walks into the fucking building and kills them all.
Yeah.
Easy peasy, easy dub for Fairy Tail.
Exactly. There was like during like the Magic tournament arc, Sting, one of the other Dragon Slayer, he could have just like won the games because Fairy Tail at that point was like super tired out and weak. He could have won, but he popped out because he got no friends.
He's just like the people who don't like Fairy Tail.
He copped out because like he realized that Fairy Tail like very much deeply care about each other and stuff like that. But this is like one of those moments where I'm like, power of friendship should not. No, don't do this. Don't do this with power of friendship because this is like feels like such a cop out.
Yeah, well, that's like the opposite of power of friendship. That's like the dragging down of friendship, eating your soul and making you weaker. Like that ain't it.
No, exactly. So that's why I'm just like, whatever. I guess some people get it, but I don't get it. And then there was like this whole dark future timeline thing where everyone dies, and then Rogue versus Lucy, and I just thought Rogue was such a loser because the only reason why he became dark was because he lost his little cat thing. Like the little cat thing dies. And then like later on, Natsu does promise like they will make sure to protect that little frog thing, but never ever in the future do I remember that little frog cat thingy ever becoming like anywhere close to being endangered. What was the point in that?
Oh, yeah, it's annoying when it's like just becomes a drop plot point.
Yeah, exactly. Another thing was like I call it the main character syndrome, being that Natsu is like the chosen one, the OP, because he is literally END, which stands for Ignia. What the E stands for? Who cares? Something Natsu Dragoneel, because Natsu is technically Zera's little brother that he was trying to resurrect the whole time, and then he's literally part demon and part dragon.
That's convenient.
That's why it's like I don't like when a character becomes so like overpowered in a sense that like it feels like they can just destroy the world if they wanted to, and this is what it felt like. That's why I was like, this isn't like, I know this is like the plot twist, but like
Bro thought he was Gojo.
I know, like literally the point that I made, my point was this plot twist was like a what the fuck, but also a come on man for me.
Damn, the double. The double down.
I didn't like it. Like, I mean, I get it, but I didn't like it.
Yeah. Well, I also think Natsu is just not a strong enough character to kind of have that be a part of him. Like, his character is very boring to me. I don't actually care for Natsu. I usually like when other characters are the focus of the stories.
I mean, you and I never really care for main characters.
Well, Lucy I cared about. Natsu was just kind of like endemic of that issue where he was just the boring main character who was like, I'm stronger than everyone because I want it and I am hungry and all that shit.
Wait, so now you admit Natsu's the main character.
Well, if like what you're saying is true, it seems like he definitely becomes the main character undisputedly.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, Lucy's just a writer and Natsu's the main character.
I feel like before the time skip, Lucy was the main character.
It was like, it felt like everyone had their moment to shine kind of thing for me. Like, Lucy had like a very big hand in like driving the plot with her stuff, but like I did feel like, you know, Erza had her plot point and then Ray had his plot point kind of thing.
Yeah, like since it was so like evenly spread out at that point, I feel like since she was the one whose perspective we were getting, it like made her the de facto main character. But I've also heard arguments that Fairy Tale the Guild is the main character, which is fine as well.
I prefer that.
Friendship.
Yes, friendship. Um, so here was the other thing, was that remember how I was like talking about Aquarius saying to destroy her key?
Yeah.
So when she said that, she was saying like they would not be able to see each other again. And I
Okay.
took it as like the key just will never get manifested again. Once it's broken, it's done.
Right.
But a year later, she pops up again.
Oh, okay, then who cares?
That's what I mean. Like you made it seem like the sacrifice was like an end all be all, but then like you pop up a year later.
Yeah, that's annoying. That weakens it so hard.
Yeah, yeah, I know. And then and then it goes on to fucking we meet Ray's dad,
Hmm.
who was brought back by a necromancer. And he purposely learned Demon Slayer magic so he can get revenge for his family, not realizing that his son was alive. And then he freaking tells Gray to kill him as a way of like getting past his traumatic past. I'm like, bro, isn't that gonna make it more traumatic? Aren't you gonna traumatize him even more?
Yeah, it's good. It's good plan, Dad. So all these like issues, they feel like, for the most part, they take place after the time skip.
Yeah. No, like literally, like thinking about it. Yeah.
So, yeah, so maybe like he kind of, I don't know, maybe he ran out of stuff, or like he started kind of doing ass pulls at that point. Because yeah, this all sounds like reasons why people would kind of have a bad taste in their mouth after finishing Fairy Tale.
Yeah, like it felt rushed. It would do like a lot of things that I didn't really like what was happening. I think the other one was like, bro, the dragons were in their child the entire time. Like, I don't know. Like, did I like that? I don't know. I was like very confused. I was like, I don't know if I like hate this or like this aspect of things. Like, it just was very confusing for me.
Was it? I guess it wasn't conveyed well, because I feel like the idea isn't like terrible.
Well, I mean, they do explain like, oh, they were in their respective child as a way to help them build an antibody to prevent them from becoming a dragon like Agnolia.
Oh, I didn't know that part.
Yeah, so that's why I was like,
So they're dragon
there was
vaccines.
yeah, kind of pretty much. Like they
Okay.
insert themselves into the child as like a vaccine kind of thing. But then they come out and then they go by. I was like, so fast.
All
It
right,
was
see
so
you.
fast. And I was like, what the fuck? Why is it so fast?
Okay, yeah, that feels weird.
Oh, and then they bring out this other character named Mess.
His name is Mess.
Mess, Mest.
Oh, okay. Oh, is that the
It's
spy?
Yeah, I hate him so much. Unbelievably hate him. He's like a freaking double agent. Like he's literally a part of Fairy Tale. Chose to erase his own memory so he can go in to infiltrate the Magic Council to try to help Fairy Tale. And I'm just like, okay,
But then
fine.
they turn him to be a spy for Fairy Tale again. he triple
That
gaslights himself.
wasn't even like the worst part of all. Was that the worst part was when they were trying to do a negotiation with August, who was Zero's like top like honcho. They were trying to do a negotiation because they didn't want an all-out war. So they had Brandish, who like August saw as like a granddaughter to him or whatever. So they had Brandish, who was like kind of pretty much on Fairy Tale's side at that point, but Mess just is like, nah, man, this is not gonna work. So what I'm gonna do is implant memory into her and make her think that he was gonna kill her, but instead she's gonna try to kill him first. And then it
Cool.
fucked everything up.
That's a great plan.
I hated him for it. I think like it was absolutely ridiculous. I did not like anything about it, and I don't like him.
He like, I feel like he should have had an arc where he realized that manipulating memories always corrupts the goodwill of any action that he'll ever do. So he should just stop doing it.
I mean, yes, like that would be great.
But alas.
And then another character that got thrown in named Anna Harthilia, which is like the ancestor to Lucy, who like randomly, it feels like it was almost randomly thrown in, kind of. Like they try to give her a point as to why she's there, which is like, oh, she's the one because she's also a celestial like person. So then she like pretty much is like the creator of the Eclipse Gate. So now we're actually having the Eclipse Gate as like an actual canon thing. Because previously, that whole arc with the Eclipse Gate shit was freaking not canon. It was filler. So now we have this as an actual canon, and then we get this character thrown in, and then we're talking about like time travel.
I feel the same way about that I feel about the alternate universe. Fairy Tail does not need that. The point of the story that it got to, like, it was not like some MCU multiverse shit where it needed that. It just complicates and kind of makes everything a little bit in doubt at that point.
Exactly.
I mean, it feels like the author felt like he needed to make new things and just keep creating stuff. Whereas maybe he kind of just did not have any more ideas for what he wanted to do. So he just made stuff and it overcomplicated things.
Maybe he just lost gas in the tank.
That's what I'm feeling like, because it seems like he had like a clear vision up until the time skip, and then like maybe a little after, but then like just started doing things just to do them.
You know, I agree.
Like you said, like the foreshadowing for a lot of things was there in the beginning, but then like a lot of the stuff you're saying now is complete out of left field for me. Like I would have not predicted this shit ever.
I know, so I think that's why like it started falling off. But I think the other thing was like, so we have like different takeovers as part of the magic, right? You can be like a beast, animal, and demon, and the next thing you know, we're getting introduced by God.
God.
Yeah, God takeovers, and I'm like, tell me,
Super
alien
Saiyan God, Super Saiyan.
Yeah, like Super Saiyan 5 at this point.
I would prefer Alien Takeover. That would be a better idea.
Probably, but it was just like, what the freak is happening? And then there's an actual character named God Serena,
Cool.
and like they made him sound so OP because he was able to take down the Magic Council people himself, and he's apparently got like 8 different dragon lacrimas in him, so like he's supposed to be mad height. Like he gets one-shotted by Agnoglia in his human form and just dies.
Nice.
What was the point in all this?
Feels like trolling. Like that's a One Punch Man plot.
Bro, it felt like it was definitely trolling at that point because I was like, what the heck happened? And then there was like, okay, there's still this confusion even online because I looked it up about Natsu having 2 different seeds in him because he's half demon and half dragon, right? But then like he's gonna eventually become one of them because one is gonna overpower the other or something like that. So everyone imagine literally like there's 2 seeds in Natsu and one of them probably gonna overpower the other. Like he's gonna either become a demon or a dragon. My boy was like, nah, I'm human. And then poof, everything poofs. And he's just not gonna ever like overcome to be a dragon or a demon. And I'm like, I'm not the only one who was like, what the fuck does this all mean? None of this made sense. Even the internet was like, what does this mean? And people were like, it's just a metaphor. That's either metaphor.
For what?
And I'm like, nah, like we see Agnoglia can actually become a dragon. So that's very much possible. So I don't understand how you're gonna say that's a metaphor.
It feels like have you ever heard the meme like there's 2 wolves inside of you?
Yes,
like, that's exactly what it is. And he's just like, nah, man, I'm just Natsu.
Exactly that. That's why I was just like,
that's pretty lame, I have to admit.
See? Okay, and then what type of magic does Lucy have? She has celestial key magic, right?
Right.
How does she rewrite END so that Natsu does not disappear when Zeref disappears? The END book that Zeref holds on is Natsu's book, and technically when Zeref disappeared, because that would like make his magic kind of stuff disappear, Natsu was technically supposed to disappear.
Right.
But for some reason Lucy was able to rewrite it, but I don't understand how she rewrites it when her magic is not like letter magic.
But yeah, they have the word letter mage that should have done it.
That's why I was like, what the fuck is this?
Wait, I have a question. Do they ever do like a romance between Natsu and Lucy?
It's implied, but
okay,
it's not
so no.
like, actually full on. Like,
all right, that's honestly for the best.
And then remember how I said Markov, what's his name?
Makarov
like sacrificed himself so that he used fairy law, he like sacrificed himself so he can wipe out the enemies.
Is he back?
Yeah, they brought him back at the end, and I'm like,
He's like, hey guys, it's me.
what is the point of sacrifice if sacrifice isn't like a final thing?
It's like, okay, this is like a problem I have with a lot of manga and the fact that it's one person who does everything. At a certain point, someone needs to kind of take it away from people, you know? Because yeah, they literally write themselves like into a bad situation, and they just do shit that contradicts their previous work and makes it weaker.
So like, yeah, I agree in that. And then like I think around this point in time I already started reading the manga for it, and like everything about it felt so rushed. At like this final arc, everything about it felt so rushed. There was like I think the last 4 episodes, like you have Zerov dying and then Agnalia being the final boss. That was like super rushed because everyone was like, let's get it all together, let's go beat him and stuff like that. And then like Agnalia is being alive, and like the only way they thought about killing him was like trying to push him into a time rift, but it's like so confusing. And
I
then,
hate
like,
that sentence you just said. I don't want fairy tale people to push things into time rifts.
okay, but like this is legit when power of friendship comes into play.
Oh,
Because
oh God.
there is so Eknogli is supposed to be like one of the most powerful like beings because they kill so much dragon that they became a dragon themselves, right? So the only way that they thought of to like legit defeat him was to do a link magic, which is like linking every single person to like have the same type of emotion and feeling. And then literally what they did was spirit bomb, like a legit spirit bomb like montage for the fairy tale sphere thing. And then Natsu ended up being the one that defeats Ignaglia because he gets the power of the other 7 dragon slayers and beats him in one punch. It wasn't even much of a fight. It was just one punch. That's it. I don't know, man. It was just like such a terrible way to end it all as like a final boss and everything.
You know what's really funny is that's actually how they ended the Soul Eater anime, because they ran out of time. So they defeated the last boss with a friendship punch. It was like almost the exact same scenario you just described, but I guess under different circumstances, because they were like, we don't have the ending, let's just write an ending now.
It's like, is this always going to be the default for like anime sometimes, especially shonen?
Gotta do the friendship punch. It's the only way.
I just don't know how I feel about it. Like, I mean, this pretty much sums up everything for me, like on my end. Like all the goods and the bads about things, and like you mentioned, like all the bad seems to be coming out towards the latter half.
There's a clear line of separation where you can definitely like enjoy fairy tale like the way I did, and then just not watch the other part and just be happy.
Yeah, so that's why I'm like, you know, I fond memories of fairy tale, and I do appreciate the whole like power of friendship stuff, but you know, this is like where it's not it.
Yeah, that should not be the thing that people have an issue with.
No, and I think like people should watch fairy tale to enjoy like, you know, what the true meaning of friendship actually is. But like don't get boggled down by like all the other stuff about towards the latter half of things, where legit power of friendship is becoming literally a power of friendship.
Yeah, as I said like early on, like power of friendship is not a power system, it's just a motivation, and that's how it should be. That's how it should have stayed in fairy tale, I guess.
Yeah, and I agree. I guess overall in things, I do still very much appreciate fairy tale. Fairy tale is definitely one of those shows and animes that I hold dear to my heart, and people who shit on it just don't have real
Get friends, idiot. But it does seem like it's another story of, and I always have this issue and like fear, is when something goes on too long, because there's been so many, and it's especially an issue with manga and anime, I've noticed, where something reaches a point where it just kind of ruins itself by having shitty plots, shitty ending, you know, all that.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think something just happened towards the end of things for him when he was like writing this. You know, like maybe he just got tired. And this is like the project he wasn't in love with anymore.
See, but I mean, I don't know if he write it, or like I don't know if it's current or past tense. I don't know if it's still going on because there is more fairy tale material that's like been
Oh yeah,
written since then.
the 1,000 year quest.
Yeah, so if he was tired of it, he definitely is not dealing with it the proper way.
I mean, unless his like agency's telling him that he needs to do
It
it.
could be. It very well could be. Or maybe he's just, working a 9 to 5, Like, maybe he did all the good shit he wanted to do in Fairy Tale, and now it's just like, alright, I'll write some more shit to get that paycheck at the end of the week.
I think we need to reboot Fairy Tale.
I would love a Fairy Tale Brotherhood.
Yeah, I think like just to like clean things up, I would love a reboot.
Yeah, this is the age of reboots and remakes, and honestly, I love it. Take
I
the
mean,
good shit from the past and make it the best version it can be.
yeah, but it's not always gonna be that.
What do you mean? Like, not
Like, I
everything's gonna
feel like
work
not
that
every
way?
remake is a good, yeah, not every remake
No,
is gonna be good.
no, but I'm very much someone of the point of like, if it's not good, you don't have to watch it or read it or play it or whatever the media might be. Because if someone makes a bad remake, let's say, they weren't going to make a good new show. Whatever they made was going to be bad. Like, they don't got the right pieces or they don't have the right motivation or whatever it might be. That's my take on it.
Well, oh, before we like sign off, I do want to show my prized possession.
Oh, go for it. Let's see. Drum roll.
All right,
Is that the drawing?
can you see?
Hold it
With
closer.
glare?
Oh, there is a glare, but no, it's the sun.
Yeah, I know that's what I'm saying. Is there a glare?
Yeah. All right, hold
Pick
it
it up,
closer.
pick it up.
It was picking it up before. Yes, right there. Mashima.
Yeah, so Hiro Mashima is the mangaka that for some reason I was blanking on his name for,
So did I.
and he literally did this in like less than 5 minutes. Like it
That's
took him like
crazy.
2 minutes, I think about 2 minutes to draw this,
Yeah, and
and he was so nice about it.
yeah, like for all the stuff that I like said about like the later part of Fairy Tale, and maybe he don't got the right stuff. Like he did create like some of the best characters, like Urza and Loxus, Elfman.
Yes.
Like he definitely created some really amazing characters and put them in amazing stories.
No, and I agree. Like you can't hate the guy for making what is really good.
No, and for a while he did. I think maybe like there was some interference or something. The vision was lost at some point. I don't know if it was
Yeah.
him or someone else.
No,
But
I agree.
the parts that I enjoyed about Fairy Tail, I still enjoy. Like, I still would say it's an anime I very much liked. I would say it was still a good anime, a great anime.
Honestly,
I'd recommend it if people are in that kind of mood,
honestly, I agree too. Because all I ever want to do is just figure out how to cosplay as Erza. So she's one badass beach.
Yeah, no, if I was to sim for an anime character, it would be her.
Exactly. So simple. Her and Mary Jane.
Yeah, Mira Jane, she's also in my top 5 characters. While I was
Okay.
showering to get ready for this episode, like I was thinking about my top 5, and I think it's Urza, Loxus, Elfman, Mira, and Jalal.
I agree.
All right, one brain cell, baby. We like that. We the nakamas over here.
Exactly. All right. So that pretty much ties up my little rant and presentation about Fairy Tale. If anyone else wants to talk about why Fairy Tale was good or bad, please leave it in the comments below and tell me how right I am about this show.
Yeah, especially like, yeah, if you are someone who's been oppressed by the haters, like, we got you. We'll bring friendship back.
We could all be a guild together.
Hell, the one brain guild. Let's go.
All right. So, with that being said, until next time.
Yeah, just kind of want to give a shout out to one of our new followers, Katie, and the Aikido gang. I promised them a shout out, but anyways, wait, no, you're doing the wrong symbol. You're doing
sorry.
the wrong symbol.
I'm sorry.
All right. See you next time, guildmates. Never forget your friends. Bye bye.